All right. I think that's working. It didn't tell me it's recording, but that's okay because it says it's recording. Awesome. Well, hi everybody. Welcome. Happy New Year. We haven't seen each other in a while. And welcome to the culmination of our fall 2024 Young Voices of Science program, which is amazing. It feels like we just started. So tonight, of course, is our project workshop. I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody. For those of you that are presenting, I know I speak for the whole team when I say that we really have enjoyed having everybody in the program. It's really been a pleasure to get to know you guys, to work together, to hear about what you're studying, what type of communication you're into, all sorts of good things. Um, in order to ensure we have enough time, we're already a little bit behind schedule. We're going to dive right into it. Um, Eva has dropped the agenda in the chat, so you can see that in there. We'll call your name as we go with the amount of presenters that we have. I think what we're going to do is we'll just do 4 minutes of presentations and 1 minute for questions. Um, you can, if we don't answer your question, please use the chat, you know, make comments, ask questions, go crazy in the chat. We love using the chat. But we want to try to stick to 5 minutes per person just so we don't cut anybody short or we don't go wildly over time. Um, if you are presenting, presenters are encouraged to share about your projects. Again, we always think topic, medium, audience, and goals. You can share about the process. You can share about some struggles you might have encountered, successes, reflections. Whatever you want to share is totally up to you. The format is up to you. If you have slides, if you have photos, if you want to share a document, feel free to share your screen. If you just want to talk and share about your project, that is totally fine too. Anything and everything you want to share is all good with us. So, without further ado, let's get started. And first presenter of the evening is going to be Shantali.
Hey y'all, I'm gonna try to screen share and not show too much of my age. See if I can do it. Okay, can you guys see it?
Give it 1 second, it's loading.
Okay.
Yep, we got it.
Okay. Well, these are my slides. My project was titled Climate Resilient Infrastructure and Communities. If we haven't met already, I'm Chantali. That's how you pronounce it. I'm currently doing a fellowship at the EPA, and I'm passionate about infrastructure and our ability to access resources. So naturally, when Hurricane Helene hit the news in September of 2024, I felt like I had to write something about it and give some of these people a voice in a sense. How do I go? Give me a second, I'm getting old. Okay. So, an overview about my project. I wanted to write an article, but I wanted to use that as the bouncing off point for other mediums. And so the article, I think my estimated reading time was 9 minutes. So that's my audience for that are just like young adults or people interested in Hurricane Helene. So that requires more involvement versus I made an 8-page zine just for like teenagers or like angsty young adults that wanted to hear more about what they could do regarding the climate and resilience. And then after the election, I decided to make an Instagram art page to funnel some of my feelings, strong feelings, and to just talk more. So those are my three things, and we'll be talking a little bit about it. So again, my article is the main thing. It's currently up on Substack and Medium, and it's a 9-minute article. So if you have the time, maybe you can read it if you'd like. And then the next thing, I've never made a zine, but I've always heard about it and I always thought it was like cool and radical. So I finally made one using Canva, which I know you're supposed to make them like DIY, but there are no rules to zines. So I was like, whatever. I'm going to make one. So there's a QR code here that you can use to access it. But this basically is a synopsis of my article and it's really quick. So it's for anyone. And then I made an art Instagram account where I drew a piece about, post-election blues on the left-hand side, and then climate grief, one about consumerism in the bottom, and then the other one about the Palestine situation. So that was our recent piece. So if you'd like to follow us, please go ahead. And so that's basically it. This all came through my article, and I made different things throughout my time. The main lessons being climate change is heavy. So my group was really nice, and they helped me one day because I was really down. I kept researching climate change, and it was just getting sad. So I put it down, and that really helped. throughout the process. I don't think I'm a strong editor, but I think that maybe by creating a checklist of things that I can change while I edit, maybe that'll help. And I've accepted that my first article doesn't have to be perfect, so that's pretty much it. And up next is just keep creating and learning while I do that. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That is all really, really cool. I really inspiring. It's super timely, climate resilience, community resilience, and I think, in a world of daunting climate change, it's sort of community level resilience, community level support is where it starts, and then you sort of grow from there. So super cool. Does anybody have a question for Shantali? Um, and if you could, it would be great. Please drop the link to your article and to your zine in the chat. We would love to check it out. And yes, I see that, Libby. No rules for zines. That's right. It's totally free form, fun way to share information. Any questions for Shantali? No? All right, cool. And again, if you think of something, please drop it in the chat. Next up, we have Alondra.
Hi, so the project I ended up working on was very different to what I envisioned at the beginning. At the time, there was a Beaver internship at the nonprofit that I worked on, so I wanted to create a flyer for them for a grant that we are still, we still have at Together for Nature, but it changed, so now it's one more focused on general coastal and climate resilience. Um, and in combination to that, at the nonprofit I work for, we're in development of a program called Change Makers for Sustainability. So I've been helping develop curriculum to talk about those sustainability topics with our mentees and other community members that we try to help. So I'll share some of this stuff. Uh, Let me pull it up. Oh, there's. Um, so this is the main flyer that was the focus of my original project proposal. It's still not done, and I've been getting feedback from my supervisor at Together for Nature. Um, my medium was through Canva, but ultimately the goal of this poster was to try to communicate the importance of climate resilience to communities that are especially impacted by the things that climate change causes. So low income, marginalized communities. We try to share a bit of background behind the causes, what climate change resilience looks like, and also how Together for Nature is helping address those issues and how they themselves can continue to build resilience, like staying involved. And one of the sections that I'm still working on is finding community resources that already exist that they can access. So like currently there's a guide to that talks about how to prepare for when flooding happens, and also about the importance of integrating equity into resilience strategies. And me escape. It's gone through several versions. So I like played around with logos as well. I think my main goal, as someone that likes to work with visuals, was trying to like mix appealing, simple graphics that display like information quickly, but also combining them with the information. And then this is a presentation that I helped build this fall, that I did want to share since it wasn't my originally intended for Young Voices of Science, like the project, but it does fall within the work that I'm doing with the NIFWID folder project. This one is about biodiversity, and I helped create a presentation that talks about like biodiversity and the importance of social diversity and how it connects. And it was co-created with my supervisor as well, which we also did a Jeopardy that I got to play with our mentees in our mentorship program. And lastly, the goal is to just continue to create a similar presentation, but for water solutions. So yeah, that's basically it.
Very
I'll
well done. Thank you so much for sharing. We really, really appreciate it. I would just say it's super cool to see like, another excellent climate resilience piece, but like it's cool to see all the different mediums, all the different ways that we can communicate science. There's articles, there's zines, infographics, educational materials, all these different ways of raising awareness for a similar topic. So, super cool. Very well done.
Thank
Any
you.
any questions for Alondra? I see any hands, questions, comments. Sing her praises in the chat if you haven't done so already. All right. Eva, was that a hand? You look like you were going to raise your hand. No. All right. Sorry. Oh, Shantali. Yeah, please go ahead.
Just had a quick question. I guess what can we expect next from you? Like, where else can we look for your future work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am still working at Together for Nature, and I'm also looking for grants to continue to stay within the organization. So I want to continue expanding on the Changemaker curriculums and actually like present them out in the community. But I do really enjoy science communication and creating materials. So I would like to make something as well, even if it's outside of Together for Nature. So I know I'm going to meet with Brendan hopefully sometime after and brainstorm some ideas. Actually, I meant to ask that to you as well, since you're doing your Instagram. So I was curious if you're going to continue doing art as well.
I'll definitely try. But yeah, I think we should all keep creating, you know.
Definitely. Keep creating, keep being creative. Could be communication, it could be artwork. And everybody go give Shantali a follow as well. We'll blow up her Instagram page. That'd be awesome. Cool. Yeah, and like Alondra said, we are going to be meeting next week to continue working on her projects. Like just because this is sort of the end of the Young Voices project or program doesn't mean, that's it. We're never going to hear from you guys again. We're never going to hit you up again. Like if you're still working on your projects, we're still here for you. We're going to keep meeting. We're going to see your projects through till the end, whether the program is over or not. So, don't ghost us at the end of this. Um, all right. So next up on the agenda is Naomi. Is Naomi here? Yes, she is. Awesome.
Okay, this is going to be short, but I figured I would share just because it is the last meeting probably with all of us here together. So I'm hoping to produce a podcast about bats, because bats are really cool and I've been interested in them for a very long time. Um, and I think my vision for this podcast is to interview a couple of scientists. I've been sort of like looking into four different areas, like scientists either researching white nose syndrome, which is like caused by a fungus and is really decimating some bat populations, or like researchers doing work with flying foxes in Australia, which are super cute bats. You should look up bat burritos. I learned about that from a researcher and it changed my life. They're very cute. Um, and then also researchers who are doing work learning about food sharing relationships in bats or the relationships between like bats and like how they store sugar, which is also a really interesting field of research. But I'm basically hoping to interview them and instead of maybe like focusing more on the research side, asking them more about like their personal stories of like doing research in the field. Because I think like researching bats is such an interesting experience because it often involves like doing work at night or like, doing work in caves or like in trees or in like with nets, which is, very typical of like outdoor field research. And I think, because bats are such like strange creatures, like, they evolved flight even though they're mammals. Like they're really just strange creatures. And I think a lot of researchers have like powerful stories or like very specific, unique reasons why they got into this field. And I would love to interview them and like get like narrative stories and then sort of use those stories to like maybe like I guess humanize that, like debunk some of those myths out there. Yes, I love ologies. A very good podcast. Yes. I agree. Yeah, that's I would love to be able to do something like that. Yeah, and just hopefully put it out on like this local radio station and my school's radio station and maybe Spotify. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Naomi. Yeah, we've been talking a bit about this project, and I think it's a cool lens, like demystifying bats, but focusing the part I love the most is like people love wildlife, and it's a great way to connect non-science folks with science, but focusing on the people that study the bats, I think is really cool. Why do they study it? Why do they love it? Hearing from those people is a really good way of humanizing bats. Go through the humans that study the bats. I think it's really, really cool. Oh, and Sarah's got some sweet names in the chat. Bat bites, maybe. That's a fun one. Does anybody have a question or a comment for Naomi? Maybe somebody knows a bat researcher that you could connect her with, something cool like that. No bat
There
research.
was somebody who did infographic, was it last section on white nose syndrome?
Oh, I think it was Dina Allard. She did an infographic, a cartoon on white nose syndrome.
I think she might have been in a bat lab too, potentially, but we could look into it.
It's a good idea. We already reached out to, I don't know if you knew Jessica Jones from Dartmouth. She studies bats at Hubbard Brook. We've already connected with her, and she's a great resource. But
So
anyway, we don't have to go into a bat hole. Anyway, thank you, Naomi. I really appreciate it. Oh, we got lots of info in the chat. Make sure you check that out. Thank you for sharing. And I'm really excited to keep working with you on this and to see it grow and to hear your voice on local radio. That'll be really exciting. All right, next up is Sarah.
Hey guys, my project is naturalist writing inspired by something I actually did for work this summer where we have like a naturalist journal at the site, which is like a website where every day people kind of do a report of like things that they're seeing, wildlife, what the weather's like, encounters like that. And this is my sort of interpretation as a like less frequent, more informal version of that hopefully I can share about, like where I am and what I'm seeing. I just put some writing on a Substack, and I think I'll just like, it doesn't look cute or anything yet, but I think I'll just read a little bit of the first post until I'm out of time. It's called Owl Night, an evening bird walk with a busy sky. Are you here for the owls, the comet, or the moon? We asked a man walking along the path at dusk. There was an unusually witchy convergence of occurrences in this former pasture turned natural area, and we'd already seen a few people walking along the old road and stationed with scopes, scanning the skies. I was home in Minnesota staying with my parents, and my dad had brought us here for a chance to see short-eared owls, uncommon in our area but recorded on eBird earlier that week. Unlike most of their relatives, short-eared owls are crepuscular, which means that they're most active at dawn and dusk. They're also sometimes seen in the daytime, too. The sun was setting when we arrived at the natural area, so there was a good chance that the owls would be active, but still enough light that we would be able to see them. Even as we lost the sun to a glowing pink unfurling along the horizon, the moon, large and luminous and just a few days away from the full hunter's moon of October, was high in the sky. My dad and I had just gotten out of the car and were fussing with our old dog, grabbing the leash and trying to help her down out of the back, when my dad pointed up. There! It was a short-eared owl flying low over the grasslands. We had a good view of the owl in the remaining dusky pink light, but even if we hadn't been able to see the brown streaks on its breast or the white patch by its wingtips, it would have been unmistakable. Birders, of which I am a poor one and my dad is quite skilled, often identify species based more on a brief impression than on specific characteristics. Oftentimes, you won't get a good look at a bird. They're far away, or moving too quickly to focus your binoculars on, or the lighting is all wrong and you aren't able to see any colors. And so the gist, or general impression of size and shape, is what birders rely on to make an identification. The term comes from a World War II technique used to identify military aircraft, but it really just refers to the gut familiarity of recognition, like how you recognize a friend from afar based on their stride or the way they're slouching over a table. In the case of the short-eared owl, they have a distinctive flight pattern, a few large flaps, and then a short glide. Okay, that's about maybe halfway through. I think I'm gonna stop for time there. Yeah, I talk about the owls, I talk about the moon, and I talk a little bit about the comet, which was kind of like another rare thing that was in the sky that day. But yeah, it's really just about how I like went for a walk somewhere where I didn't expect to see much, and like there were all these things happening in the sky, and like all these different people had come out to observe like something different, special, and like weirdly witchy about the night that had called to them. So I hope to do more writing like this. I really like writing and I am like so intimidated by like putting it out there and sharing it with people. And so I feel like the accountability of this program, like I literally had this piece like saved on my computer like so many others. And like only like last night, like 10 minutes before I was like, I have to go to bed, was I like, okay, fine, I'll like put it on the internet. Um, so yeah, I think that's been valuable. And that's all for me. I can put a link to the post below. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing and thank you for putting yourself out there. Please do drop the link. I'm sure everybody will give it a read. I really love the combination of the storytelling, the observations, and the scientific information. I think it's really cool. And I think as scientists, we can all kind of learn from that. Like, you know, not just going out in the field and doing what you're doing, but thinking about it and observing it and then writing about it is like a really good way of like solidifying the information and then telling that information like through story to a lot of different people. So super cool and very well done.
Thank you.
We have a question or a comment for Sarah, or you can drop it in the chat, of course, as always. All right, no worries. I am going to pass the mic to Dana, who's going to introduce the next set of presenters.
Thank you, Brendan. So for our next presenter, we have Juan Francisco Guisado, who is going to talk to us about his amazing project titled Immerse Yourself in the Nature of La Serena and La Siberia in virtual learning.
Thank you, Dana. So I created a virtual gallery because I'm really passionate about photography and nature, and then I wanted to raise awareness about the biodiversity here in my place in Spain, and I wanted to show like people from my generation and younger generation interesting facts about the biodiversity here and what kind of things you can see. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you how the gallery look like. Okay, can you see? Okay, thank you. So yeah, the gallery has 3 rooms. I decided to separate it into plants, birds, and landscape. And then it's very easy to move on the laptop. You can click on the floor and you can move around. And if you go with your phone, you can like those kind of image that you can move yourself. I don't know how is this called, but yeah. So I think it's easy to navigate, and then you can see the whole room. If you are interested in any picture, you can click and it will focus on the image. You can click again and it will appear a short description. I wrote it in Spain because my goal in Spanish because my goal was to raise awareness of the people from my local place. And yeah, interesting fact, like this is a very common plant that we can see very easily here, and it's now being proved for some type of cancer in the medical field. And you can also like the image. And yeah, I'll share the link. I also a poem from a poet that is from the region. And then I would like to show you the next room, which is the bird room. And here you can see some common birds you can find here. Yeah, you can click and it will appear the short description. And yeah, I just been going to the field and taking a picture of what I saw. This is probably one of the most popular birds, actually the symbol for my region. And it was kind of fun because I went with my family and friend, and I just took my camera and see this animal. And it was also fun to do some research about them and find out more about my place. And this is the landscape gallery. It like how my place look like, and yeah, this is where I used to go when I was a kid. And this is a little village next to my village. And yeah, so my goal was to show the people from my place what we have here, and to encourage them to take a walk and explore and appreciate all the nature we have. Thank you. And I will share the link.
Yes, please share the link. I just put in the chat how I'm so excited to drink some tea and visit your art gallery after this session. I don't know who else is going to join me, but I'll definitely be there. Do we have
Thank
any
you.
questions for fun? Actually, I did see a question in the chat really quickly. Let me scroll up. Christina asked, well, first she said, this is so cool. Is there a word limit to the descriptions?
Yes, there is, but it's very long. However, my goal was to make it very short because I wanted to make it engaging. I know if I am too scientific, if I make it too long, people will not actually read it. So I just want to put emphasis on interesting facts, where to find them, and something cool to motivate people to read it.
Thanks. We have one more question. Alondra asked, what did you say you used to create this virtual space?
What did you say?
I think like the platform. It was called like the virtual art gallery, right?
Oh, yeah. So I was very lucky to find this because for most of them you have to pay, but this one is called art. Sorry, give me a second. Yeah, it's called Virtual Art Gallery, and it gives you can create one for free. So I think that's something very cool, and you can add as many rooms as you like, add many pictures as you like.
Oh no, Wanda, I think you froze. But it sounds like a really awesome platform. I hope you can still hear us. We'll go ahead and put the platform in the chat right now. Amazing. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and move on to our next presenter. So we have Katya Globovsky talking about her curriculum on seasonal natural science for elementary school students.
Hi everyone. I have a little presentation that I can try to screen share. I don't know who was saying this earlier, but I also am not amazing at computer things. So let's see how this works. Can we see this? Yes, okay, I'm seeing thumbs up. Okay, so just a little background. I was a preschool teacher before entering grad school. I'm now in grad school just for normal science things, but I love kids. I think that it's really important to teach kids about the natural world around them, and that's how we get kids that are really passionate about the environment. And obviously, we need that. I was lucky enough to like have had educators and role models when I was little that really got me excited about the natural world, and that's kind of what sent me on my path. So it was nice to be able to do that with little kids when I was teaching, and I think it would be fun to have kind of a program. What I envision for this is like going into schools for like 2 hours out of the day, 4 times a year, just to teach like a short, fun natural science curriculum about what's going on around them. So I have a little presentation about that. So children learn science by doing science. They observe the world around them, they ask questions, and they use all of their senses to explore and investigate. So this curriculum would help them do that. And as scientists, we have a special position where we can play a critical role in facilitating these learning opportunities. And I think that's a really important way to give back to, I don't know, the reasons why a lot of us became scientists, and also nurture a child's sense of wonder and sense of place, which is exciting. And I think especially as scientists, something I've seen in a lot of you is that we have that sense of wonder and the excitement of discovery. And I think it's really important for kids to see that adults are also still really excited about that. And you can be an adult who is excited about science and the world and be super happy about sharing that. And so some objectives for this was just to develop a 4-part natural science curriculum to be taught in elementary schools and also in preschools. And then in the future, I hope to apply this to local elementary schools in New Haven, Connecticut. So New Haven is kind of a more urban population and not a ton of access to the outdoors. So I think it'd be really cool to bring this curriculum to New Haven and have kids see, have kids get excited about the world around them, even if it's not the most natural space in the world. Okay. Well, let's see. There we go. Okay. And so things that will be included in every curriculum, it's going to be, or yes, so there's going to be one for each season. There's each lesson is going to be designed to get children outside, learning together in every season. The workshop is designed to be about 2 hours long. And then each lesson also supports the next generation science standards and the Common Core because schools tend to care about that. There we go. Okay. And so each curriculum is going to include these items. So background teaching, reading for the volunteer or the teacher in the classroom, list of potential activities to incorporate into the lesson, and all of the materials needed for those activities, and a puppet show. I've taught curriculums like this in the past. The puppet show is a huge hit with the kids and they love it. So of course had to incorporate a puppet show into my own, and all materials that are needed are included and will be delivered to the volunteer or the teacher delivering the program. And so one of the workshops that I developed is called Winter Ways. And so I just wanted to give you guys an example of what this could look like and some of the activities included in it. And so this would just be about like winter ways that plants and animals survive in the winter. And it's winter right now where I am, so I thought that it was applicable and can be taught in an urban or a more rural setting. So some fun activities. So an introduction would be just to go outside, ask them to use their senses, notice and wonder about the challenges that animals and plants might face in the winter, and what are some ways that animals and plants can overcome these challenges. Then a winter survey or like a scavenger hunt, but with all of your senses to walk around and look for animals, listen for birds, look for tracks. If there's snow, if there isn't any snow, that's okay too. And then there's going to be, it's kind of like boiled down to a little bit simpler, but we talk about 4 main survival strategies animals use in the winter. And so you could There are skits to act out migrators, dormant animals, active animals, and hibernators. Kind of similarly, there's another skit for like each of the students to act it out themselves. Winter, Who Am I? If you've ever played that fun game, the Guess Who or something like that, that's kind of like this. Signs of the Seasons, you have a lot of pictures, and the kids run around and they try to figure out what season their picture is talking about. Oh goodness, okay. I don't know what just happened. Okay. And a journal activity. In the past, when I've done things similar to this, the program like keeps coming back to the school, so the kids like have a journal that they keep for the program. But also you can do it with just paper. And then closing, you can ask the students to share something new that they learned about how a plant or animal lives through the winter. And yeah, this isn't like a complete list of everything that would happen during the workshop, but just some ideas and some things that I've tried out in the past, which have been fun for kids and just a fun way to like break down the monotony of a school day and have something new. And it's always fun to have strangers come into your classroom and try to teach you about something fun. So thanks for listening. I'll cut it off here.
Thank you so much, Katya. It's beautiful. I really like the puppet show idea. And I really also love the fact that you're connecting it with sort of what's happening outside. I think it gives like these students a great opportunity for them to start connecting with their environment. I love it. Do we have any questions? Brendan, I didn't see your hand in the background.
All right, I just threw it up. If I have a elementary school group coming to Hubbard Brook Experimental Forest this upcoming year, would you be up for letting me use some of your activities and lessons? I would love to give them a try.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send you the more detailed Google Doc that I've made for this. And also, if you ever need a friend to come up, I love making my way up to New Hampshire and would love to come hang out with kids at Hubbard Brook. So
Awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome. We could tag team an elementary school tour and run some activities. That would be super cool.
that'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Go left, go left. Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to our next presenter. We have Christina Fleetwood with her acrylic paintings and accompanying text.
Yes, sorry for the lack of title. We're still kind of in the brainstorming the title phase. So I'm open to ideas if anyone has them. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share my screen. Give you some context here. Okay. Can we see that? Yes. No.
We see the desktop.
You see the desktop.
Okay, something
well,
is loading. Yes, we have we have project title coming soon. Okay, perfect.
Great, excellent. That's all that's on the first slide. So I downloaded it into a PDF since I was having some internet issues. So hopefully we can get through this. Yeah, so here are some of my possible titles for my project. My topic is kind of focusing on the ethics and the practices of collections-based science. So essentially turning live organisms into specimens, or sometimes recently deceased organisms into specimens. So there's kind of really deep conversation there, but I chose focus on my background because in the last, I don't know, I would say 3 or so years, I've kind of transitioned from working more with live animals to more with dead ones in jars. And there's a lot that comes with that. So these are some of my main goals of the project as I kind of went over. But this program really gave me that. I think someone else said that, like, final push. Like, I had been harboring these feelings for a while and I've been doing art for a while, but I've never really shown it to anyone aside from people who happen to come over to my house. So this is kind of cool to be able to combine those and put something out there. So as you'll see, it's still in the works. I did have some project setbacks towards the end of the year, a conversation with my advisor. Not that she is unsupportive, but she definitely re-emphasized why I need to do this project. And kind of gave me more motivation, ironically, to do it. You'll see my very brief descriptions and the little asterisk after holotype. I will include a little description what holotype means, but I do think it is important to use the actual word. So yeah, you'll see the dead preserved specimen will be on the left, followed by the live animal on the right, just to kind of subvert that, like, oh, this is the natural order of things kind of thinking. And along with those paintings, I want to have these questions kind of around them, just so people can start thinking what my point is, why are just two octopuses on canvas. So I'll give you a moment to read those. And initially, I was thinking of doing kind of a virtual art piece. Now that I've seen a very successful one, I'm thinking that maybe my piece might not be as well fit for it now that I'm actually writing the text accompaniment. As you can see from the bottom, there's a dot, dot, dot. This is a very long document so far. It is a narrative. It is very much taking you through my whole life as a collection scientist thus far. And now that I'm in grad school looking at deep sea squids, which unfortunately we can only study with trawl nets, I wanted to kind of provide background and really talk about my story, because this can be a very contentious topic, especially talking with other academics. Yeah, so my projected timeline has shifted a little bit. I'm actually going on a research cruise next month to collect squids, ironically enough. So it's kind of coming at a good time for me to make decisions as a scientist and make decisions as a science communicator. So this project is actually kind of helping me feel a little bit selfish in saying this, but kind of solidify myself as an early career scientist and like actually put myself out there rather than so much focusing on climate resilience kind of projects for now. I really love seeing what you all have done, but I think for me, like, I need to build from the ground up and start with something that is very, very close to my heart. Yeah, so as you can see here, I plan to put it on a personal website, and the grad students here at Scripps have recently started a graduate student zine, which is coming out in a couple of months. So I'm hoping to kind of hop on board there and start there, because I'm sure people here will have a lot to say. And I look forward to those conversations, the good and the uncomfortable. But that being said, I'm really interested if anyone has feedback or thoughts, feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Christina. It's amazing. I put this in a comment, but I talked about how I already love, because I know the first one you were, it was like a sketch and you were still working on it, but I already love the difference on like the fluidity. Like you could really tell it's like very impactful having those two images next to each other. And I know that was the whole point of doing that. So do we have any questions for Christina? Alrighty, if you think of one, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to our next presenter, Clara Dantes Moura. She will be talking to us about her social media account for the Environmental Biotechnology Laboratory at CEB.
Hi guys, can you see my screen?
Currently loading. Okay, we can see it.
Okay. So thank you for giving me the opportunity of being a part of Young Voices of Science. And yeah, this was very cool to make a dream come true, a social media platform for my lab that I'm working on for my PhD project. So that is the Environmental Biotechnology Laboratory. For a little bit of context, I'm in the first year of my PhD program in Portugal, in the University of Minho, in a city in the north of Portugal. And what I've noticed in several projects that I've done before in university and the research center is that usually I don't even understand the research that my colleagues are doing because there are a lot of different research topics. So I would like to do something related to science communication. And I've always liked sharing science through in my social media accounts, through drawings and pictures that I take, and things that go wrong in the lab, like contaminations, or pictures with bioreactors, and also workshops and presentations. So I decided that I wanted to do a social media account for my lab. And why? I think it's very important to make research accessible, share our motivations and outputs for our projects, showcase our research, and we need also people to get to know the people that are behind the science. So I want to engage with academic communities and potential collaborators and students for talent acquisition. And also, I want to share the research with non-scientific science. So people that are not related with science, but like science. And for that, I need to work on simplifying complex concepts. And social media is a great way to do this. I've created the logos for our social media accounts, and I've also created some posts, to meet the people. For example, this is an example for my future post, and meet the lab post that I've already published. So I've created Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, and Threads, and X, and I'm going to share with you. So can you see the LinkedIn page? Yeah. So actually LinkedIn, I created this. My first post was 3 days ago. And I think LinkedIn is the best social media for now. And I think it's because it's where people related to science are now more used to share their activities. So I share the links for all social media accounts, and I share the articles that we have already published in 2025. And I'm also sharing what our associate lab and our colleagues at in the research center are doing. And this is our laboratory with some bioreactors and our areas of really specific experiments. And so I also have a post, for example, a Throwback Thursday, when our team members went to France to be visiting researchers last year. And now I also have Instagram, that is the second best, and Threads and X. And this is our... So I've been publishing the same thing, but with a little bit, with a different... how do I say? The text is different for each social media. Yeah, but I think it's going well. So if you have any feedback, and I will share with you the links.
Thank you so much, Clara. This looks great. I remember when I first saw the logo, I was like, did your lab already have that, or did you create that? Because it looks great. I would have expected your lab to already have something like that. It's great that you are on this lab helping that. Do we have any questions? Alrighty, feel free to drop any in the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and present next presenter. We have Destiny Howell. Art Saved My Science Career, personal narrative, op-ed, community talk, and interview.
Can anyone hear me? Okay, perfect. So let me quickly give you like a summary of my project, then I will show you my presentation. So basically, my outreach project is that throughout these 10 weeks, my idea was to publish a personal narrative about my journey in physics and how I found a different community outside of physics, such as the art department at my university called Hunter College, which ultimately helped my physics career, which gave me the perseverance, determination, and a passion to continue physics, despite it's not a physics department. So I wanted to inspire high school students, particularly in this organization called Double Discovery Center at Columbia University. So Double Discovery Center is a program that help low-income first-gen college high schoolers to succeed in high school and ultimately get them into college. So I'm hoping that my publication will serve to teach them like the intersection of art and science, that using these opposites field, showcasing how creativity has helped me overcome the challenges I have faced in the physics department at Hunter College. And of course, inspired women of color, especially Black women, into STEM or even physics related field. So, and ultimately that too, we also schedule a lunch talk where I get a chance to speak to in person with the high schoolers, even with freshman years at Columbia University students, even Barnard students, again, like my path as a physics journey, like how much our DDC has inspired me to get into physics and how I stick to physics at Hunter College, which ultimately led me to going into my PhD at UT San Antonio to do some satellite missions. So that's a quick summary. So let me quickly share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. Wait, so sorry, hold up. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. So quick introduction. So hi, my name is Destiny Howell. I recently graduated from Keene Hunter College with a bachelor's in physics. Over my years at Hunter College, I did research in astrophysics specifically, like black holes, Mars science, etc. And I now have a new passion in nuclear energy as some form of clean source of energy, and I'm hoping to combine that with space nuclear science research at my PhD program. So yes, Double Discovery Center, DDC, I was part of it since like high school, where I have able to take STEM college courses at Columbia University. And again, like I had a chance to create that sense of community there over the 4 years there. So yeah, because of DDC support they have for the low-income students like me from marginalized communities, it has ultimately inspired me to make a science accessible and relatable to diverse audience. So yeah, that was my form of inspiration. So yeah, so DDC has been really it was so important in my part when it comes to my academic journey. Like I said, it has offered support, internship, sense of community, sense of belonging, and mentorship to first-gen students like myself, and ultimately helping us to navigate the challenges in high school and to college as well. Because of STEM courses I've taken at DDC, which gave me a chance to like discover which type of science I want to get into, whether it be like organic chemistry, biology, etc. Ultimately, I chose physics. Yeah, so and in return, since how much DDC over those 4 years has really set me up for success, and seeing how currently at the my school department of physics is not so acceptive to students who is not the default of doing physics. So basically, I want to inspire students, and doing that by having a personal narrative will be published on the Columbia newsletter, and of course having a lunchtime talk, having that intimate, less formal, a chill lunch talk with the high schoolers. So yes, I wanted to show the high school DDC students that having the right support, they can also overcome any challenges, especially if they want to get into STEM. So my two goals in mind, I'm gonna reiterate it again. My first goal is to inspire DDC high schoolers to pursue STEM careers through my personal story, and of course through the lunch talk. And secondly, I want to build a bridge, like close that gap between science and underserved communities, because there's studies that show how there is not so much um, students of color, going into STEM field, even though it's gotten better over the years, but it's still disproportionate compared to their white counterparts. So I just wanted to tackle that issue. So yes, the process. So I broke it down to 4 process of this. So initially, I reached out to the program manager to tell her like my outreach ideas, which was including, writing and publishing my physics journey, and of course, hosting a lunchtime talk to engage with the students. And again, just to have a personal one-on-one and open discussion about like my journey and what type of questions they have and what advice I could give to them. Yes, so after that, my second step was to prepare the publication. To do that, I took advantage of the Hunter College Writing Center, even though I'm alumni, but they said like I still have free access to the Writing Center, which was nice. So I went there 3 times with my draft. It was a lot of work because I'm not a strong writer, but they was able to work with me, help me revise a lot, but at the same time keep my sense of my writing because I wanted to stay authentic as possible of who I am. So yes, we was able to finish the draft of it, which was great, and I loved it. Thirdly, hosting the lunchtime talk happened around in November, like the ending of November on a Saturday. And again, it was a great experience. It was an informal setting where, we had a pizza chat, like a pizza time chat. Again, students felt comfortable engaging with me, asked questions like what steps I should go to next, how do I get into physics internship, et cetera, et cetera. And I felt great, honestly, helping, like the younger students. And lastly, too, yeah, so lastly too, unexpectedly too, on the same day when I had my lunch talk, the Columbia University media team was there and they invited me to do an interview with them unexpectedly. They didn't tell me beforehand. But yeah, so basically I did an interview by the DDC staff to be featured on their website publicly. And yeah, the interview was focused on how DDC shaped my journey, especially in physics, and the importance of giving back to my community. So yes, so 3 projects. The first one is the lunchtime session I had, which was again mentoring the high school students. Secondly, publishing my narrative. I was able to send my publications to the DDC manager. Right now they're on like winter break, so I'm hoping like around February we should publish it by that time. And of course, the interview will also be published later on as well during the spring semester. And as I was talking during that lunch talk, and of course in my personal narrative, I touched on these main lesson points that I want the students to remember and know if they do want to get into like STEM, like specifically in physics, and overall, and just like an overall message, like whatever field you go into, if it's not supportive, these are lessons what I have learned over the years and like how you can incorporate so you could stay passionate of your field. So so basically I touched on like having a balance when it comes to like your academic through self-care. Yes, I talked about how I incorporate art, especially going to the art department, taking art classes, helped me balance out the intensity and the toxicity of physics, which the reason why I graduated, thank goodness. Also seeking support and mentorship. I can't stress that enough when I told the students that having support and mentorship changes a lot, and it does depict like the success of like where you want to go. I told them that without DDC help and without the help from the art department, I don't think that I'll be talking as like as an upcoming PhD student in space physics. And of course, integrating art into science. I told them how like, discovering the different blends of discipline is a beautiful thing and it could give you new strength and tapping that potential of you. When I started taking art classes at Hunter College, I realized my grades in physics and math gone high up because I realized how art has tapped into me to think creatively and helped me to like see a bit more abstract, but in more like I guess an artistical way, which did help me a lot, which I was not expecting. Perseverance too, overcoming challenges, especially like again, how toxic physics was. If you really want something, you have to persevere it. I mean, I did it, and despite the fact I was not supported in my physics department, but again, having outside support gave me that strength and that confidence, and which led me to continue in physics. And last 2 points, I want to emphasize how empathy representation matters so much. Again, as a Black woman in physics, there's not many of us, like in my physics class, I'll be the only Black woman in that class, which could be really daunting. So I was telling students how that, I'm really honored to be seen as a role model, even though I don't feel like I'm a role model, but like ultimately, be in that room with them. They told me how I was a role model for them. And it honestly touched my heart because I didn't have that sense of role model, while I was in, those 4 years at Hunter College. So honestly, because of that, it kind of like inspire me more to like, okay, Destiny, like I'm doing the right thing. I'm honestly inspiring these people, like these students, that if I could do physics, you could do physics. And lastly, like again, find your sense of community. Um, you know, I told them how the art department and again the DDC community has given me a sense of belonging, a sense of love, and a sense of purpose, and that is so important. That's what I really needed, and I really hope that not just my school physics department, but like overall the physics, field industry, which is cutthroat, that I hope that these lessons that I mentioned, they could incorporate it so they could have a higher retention rate of like people who do not like look like the default going into physics. Um, yeah. So my future plans with my project idea, like I said, in winter break, so we couldn't able to publish it. But in the spring semester, we will be able to. Yes, we will be able to publish my personal narrative on the DDC Columbia University newsletter this year. And of course, we will have the interview published on their website as well. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. I will take any questions now.
Thank you so much, Destiny. There are so many layers to your project, and I love how it has led to like other side quests and networking that have all looped into your overall project. And a lot of y'all have done that. I really love that open mind mentality. Do we have any questions for Destiny? Alrighty, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Eva.
Awesome. Thank you, Dana. And congrats to everybody who's presented. It's so inspiring. I'm always astounded. Like I know in my head that everyone's been doing these projects because we give each other updates in our meetings, but it's so different actually seeing them. Like the diversity of work is incredible. And with that, I'm excited to present Chloe Maloof, who's gonna talk about her op-ed piece.
Hi everyone. Sorry, my webcam is broken, but I'm going to share my screen in a sec. So I actually got my op-ed published with Planet Forward last week. Can everyone see my screen? Yeah, so that's really exciting. And basically it's about ship strikes or the collisions between ships and whales. So how I was inspired to write about this topic basically by, you can see the picture here of this whale's eye. This is a juvenile humpback whale who basically this conservation photographer, Rachel Moore, took this picture. And she gave this whale this nickname because while she was swimming with her, she was very inquisitive and curious and playful. And unfortunately, this whale was hit by a boat and killed in October of this year. And so her story kind of went viral. And actually, 2 weeks before she was hit by this boat, I actually was lucky enough to swim with whales in French Polynesia in the same area. And so one of the whales I swam with we called him Crazy Baby. It was like this really playful calf. And so I like saw the parallel between Sweet Girl, Crazy Baby, and I was like, all right, I have to write about this topic and tell this story. And so my story kind of opens with like a vivid description of my experience, and Planet Forward let me include a video that I took. So this is Crazy Baby coming up to us. And like I want to emphasize, the whales are coming. He was like coming to us. We weren't going towards him. It was very, very rare experience. You can see that's a local Varutu there, one of the islands we were on. And so basically, I like opened the story talking about this crazy experience and transitioned into what happened to Sweet Girl. And I got some quotes from Rachel Moore that I included, just about how heartbroken she was when she heard the news, and about this petition that she started calling to reduce speed limits in the area during whale season. And so then I said, like, what happened to this whale is not an isolated incident, it's happening all over the world. And that's where I transition into like the heart of my story, where I kind of write about how severe this issue is. Like 20,000 are killed each year. And I made a bunch of infographics. So this one took me a long time to make, but this is one of the infographics I made. It basically shows these whale superhighways, they call them, for different large whale species and how they overlap really extensively with shipping routes. And another infographic I made talking about this is showing these small populations of whales that are extremely vulnerable to ship strikes, such as the North Atlantic right whale, which are, unfortunately likely to go extinct if this issue persists. And so I interviewed 3 different NOAA experts about this and kind of included their perspective into my story, and started talking about current measures in place to, address this issue and mitigate ship strikes. So this infographic right here is showing some research that Dr. Wiley, someone I interviewed, is doing using to map right whale abundance. And I forgot to mention, you can see like these little audio clips. So they're little audio clips from the interviews that I included. And here is a infographic I made kind of summarizing the main efforts going on that NOAA implements. And let's see. Yeah, a big part of it is outreach and collaboration with the shipping industry, which is kind of surprising. The industry is actually heavily involved in reducing the issue. And so, yeah, after I kind of talked about what's currently being done, I, kind of was addressing some of the shortcomings of current mitigation efforts and proposing next steps to address this issue globally. And yeah, that's about it. But I can share the link in the chat if anyone wants to read it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chloe. That is incredible. I feel like one of those infographics could have been counted as the entire project. Yeah, that was amazing. Definitely share the link in the chat. I'm very excited to read the final thing. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Chloe? Awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us, and congrats on getting it published. That's always so exciting. Awesome. Well, next up we have Alexis, who's going to be talking about her op-ed on deep sea mining.
Cool. I have some slides that I'll share. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Good. Cool. Okay, so yeah, I'm doing a written piece about deep sea mining, and the title's still like workshopping as I'm working on the draft, so it might change, but right now it's before we mine the deep sea, we must understand what's at risk. And this is a written piece that I am going to submit to the conversation. And I wanted it to focus on the midwater impacts of deep sea mining, specifically in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone, which is where I study. So it's located between Hawaii and Mexico in the Pacific Ocean. And we think of deep sea mining as something that's happening like at the sea floor, but a lot of people don't know that the current plans actually involve releasing a dewatering plume in the middle of the water column. And that's kind of what I want my piece to focus on. And I just really want to highlight the risks that this has to ocean biodiversity and to overall ocean health, and kind of why we should care about something that's happening so deep in the ocean. So some of the motivations, or I guess the reason I chose this project, was because I'm a PhD student and I study zooplankton ecology, so like small animals that live in the midwater in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone. And in 2021, I participated in 2 5-week cruises that were baseline or ecological baseline cruises meant to kind of like study the biology of this area prior to any deep sea mining. And I think this piece is very timely because they are currently in the works of creating regulations to move forward with deep sea mining. So this could happen very soon. And I think they're meeting in like June of this year to come up with some mining regulations. And again, yeah, I just want to make this science accessible and share it in a way that the public would want to read about it. And these are just some pictures of some zooplankton from my research and the ship that I was on. So the key points of my written piece is to kind of highlight that this is not only happening at the seafloor, we also need to consider what's happening in the midwater and all of the animals that live in those areas that might be impacted. So I kind of want to introduce some animals that live in that area, how they might be impacted, and again, why should we care about all of this? And the point that I would like to end with for this article is that we've done a little bit of research, but really we just have scratched the surface, and more research is needed in order to make informed decisions for deep sea mining. And just a progress update. So I've written some pitches and sent them to a few platforms, including The Conversation, which is the one that I just recently heard back from. So I did an interview with an editor, kind of just sharing my ideas more about the piece. And she kind of explained the writing process and also a few tips for writing. So I'm currently working on my first draft and will be submitting that to her next week. So I've made a little bit of progress on this, and yeah, thank you guys so much for everything and all of your support during this time. I feel like I've learned so much, and previously I've done a lot of like science communication just in person or on social media, but I wanted to kind of like challenge myself with something new. And I think after hearing like the op-ed expert workshop and the storytelling workshop, I just thought that a written piece could be cool. So it's kind of like a new challenge for me to get this out there. And I can take any questions.
Yay. Thank you so much, Alexis. And yeah, I have to say the hardest part is just figuring out where is a good platform for your piece and getting it in there. Then the rest they'll have your back, will have your back. So it's the fun part, hopefully. It's coming up for you. Awesome. So, and of course, I'm happy to read any drafts. So anybody have any questions or comments for Alexis? Lots of positive things in the chat. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
thank you so much. Great. Well, we'll move right ahead then. Next we have Vaishnavi, who's going to be talking about her op-ed that she just submitted. So take it away.
I will just share my screen. Are you able to see the screen? Awesome.
Yes.
Yes, so I will get started about my project. My outreach project is about telling a story that connects my current research to address climate change with some of the effects of climate change that we see. So to give some context, my research, I'm a computational chemist, and I'm trying to understand sustainable ways to produce ammonia, which is responsible for basically half of the world's food supply. And the traditional way to generate this chemical involves a lot of carbon dioxide gas, releases a lot of carbon dioxide gas as a byproduct, which contributes to global warming and climate change. And that's something I'm trying to address in my work. And I hit a roadblock as I was working on my project. And despite working on it for a couple of months, I was getting nowhere. So I decided to take a break, and I went hiking in Vermont to see some fall colors in last October. However, when I reached there, I noticed that despite the predictions, the fall foliage was delayed. And that has been happening for the past few years, is what I heard from the locals. And that reminded me of a climate change study that I came across, which was done in Acadia National Park, where they said while a lot of factors can influence the timing of the peak fall colors, the increasing temperatures play a very important role, or play the most important role. And according to their predictions, if the trends in global warming, the increase in global temperatures continue the rate at which they're going, it can happen that in a few decades, the fall colors will be delayed well into November, which is not a good sign. And so my piece basically ties in my experience going there, not being able to see the fall colors, and realizing that could be a consequence of the climate change crisis, which is what I'm also trying to address in my lab, but encountering some roadblocks. So to see how the effects of my work go beyond my work and enter into my personal life, and I go out in the world, I see that happening. It was such a contrast, and it was very shocking. I dealt with a lot of emotions in that moment, but then I found inspiration during my hike to come back and work on the project and overcome the obstacle. So I wrote this piece up, and I got a lot of helpful feedback from Ava. She's amazing. The piece is now finalized, and I just submitted it right before attending this session today. I submitted it to the Journal of Stories and Science, so hopefully that works out. I guess like one concern I have is that the research that connects my research around which I have the story built, that work is not yet published. I'm still in the process of publishing it, but I'm hoping that wouldn't be a problem. That wouldn't like hinder the publication of this story in Stories in Science. And either way, I'm not sure of the timeline of whether it will be accepted or rejected. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't pan out, my next steps would be to look for other avenues where I can share the story. So that's what I'm thinking. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening to me talk about my work. And thanks to YVOS for giving me this opportunity to participate and create this work. And special thanks to Ava for helping me out in this process.
Yay, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, and I'm really excited to hear what they say. I have a feeling that it will all work out, and that won't be to that technical detail won't be an issue, but awesome. Does anybody have any questions? Not, we'll move right along. We have two more presenters, so we might go a couple minutes above 7:30. Completely understand if you have to go, but we'll just move right along. So next we have Libby, who will be talking about trans deer in your backyard.
Yeah, so I'm also doing an op-ed. I don't have anything quite to share yet because I'm in the process of pitching still, but my op-ed is going to be about the trans deer in your backyard, possibly. So a little bit of background, I'm a wildlife biologist, and I last year I have a podcast with another wildlife bio friend, and she and I did a whole big episode for Pride Month about the ways that queerness like exhibits itself in the animal kingdom and how really special like these different ways that that kind of happens and sort of and a lot of it was about sexual behavior and stuff, but then I read about these deer that which are like white-tailed deer, like the ones that we see in our backyard that are don't necessarily align with one biological gender. Like they have some characteristics of male deer and some characteristics of female deer. And especially because deer have these like very visible like antlers, like visible characteristics, secondary sex characteristics they're called, they sort of have like a gender presentation. And then so these deer that are don't necessarily fall into those lines sometimes have biological characteristics that don't match their presentation. And so I've just been thinking about it for like a year about how much I feel like this is a really interesting opportunity to talk about the science of gender and how we can't really usually talk about like gender as gender in animals, but in this case we kind of can. And then especially after the election, I was thinking about this even more and how like this is a really interesting opportunity to talk about one, a really cool thing in wildlife biology, and two, an example of how like natural gender nonconformity is, and sort of like countering a lot of the rhetoric about that's like in the news a lot recently. And so the goal for my op-ed is to be a little aggressive, and that the title that I came up with was just to Trump's posse that watch out, there are trans deer in your backyard. So kind of going a little hard on it, but I'm pretty excited. Still working on pitching it, but the pitch is done, and so we'll see where it ends up.
Yay, thanks, Libby. I'm so excited. I know it'll get picked up somewhere. It's just an awesome idea and sassy piece, so it'll be great. Awesome. Well, for time's sake, we'll move right along. Our last presenter is Elizabeth, who will be talking about our toxic relationship with herbicides.
Yes, thank you. So I did an op-ed. I've always liked writing, and I was kind of excited to do something that wasn't just scientific writing, that I could actually put my own thoughts into without having to be completely objective. And my background is mainly in invasive plant management, and recently I'd noticed a lot more articles surrounding herbicides and pesticides, especially with RFK Jr.'s nomination and his bold claims to ban them all. But I felt like a lot of those were only from an agricultural perspective, either talking about how like we have organic farming and don't need it, or how we're not quite there yet. But what was really missing was an invasive plant management angle, because whenever you say we're going to ban herbicides to anyone that manages invasive plants, they like freak out and they talk about how we don't have any other options. So my op-ed is about my experiences using herbicides, and like how the first time I was handed some glyphosate, I had like this internal monologue that was like, am I gonna get cancer? Like, am I gonna kill the environment by using this? And the manager I was working with just kind of talking me through how if we don't use this, then all of the work you just spent for the past 3 hours cutting down these plants will have meant nothing, and it'll be back in less than a year. So just talking through why we use herbicides in invasive plant management, but also the flip side of that, even the people using them don't like them and want them gone. We just don't have another way. And really pushing for more research to be done and better methods to be developed so that we can manage kind of the two environmental catastrophes of both herbicide use and invasive plants. So I had a lot of fun writing it. I pitched it to Undark and it was accepted, and it's now in the editing process. So hopefully it'll be out late February, and I'm really excited to see how the final piece turns out.
Yay. I'm so excited for you. Please send the link our way when it comes out. We'll definitely promote it on all angles. So thank you so much. Awesome. I'll pass it off to you, Brendan.
I'm going to give Dana the floor for about 30 seconds with some final announcements, and then I'm going to gather my thoughts and close this out.
Thank y'all everyone for sticking around. I love seeing all of work. So quick announcements. The next Young Voices of Science session is going to be the spring 2025 one. It will begin in February and run through April. It will send you the information when applications open. So please consider spreading the news, telling your friends, classmates, colleagues, your lab about this program, and encourage them to apply if they are interested. We will also continue to highlight projects on your social media. So we will be reaching out to spotlight yours. If you have any info, feel free to send us an email with description and everything that you mentioned, but we will be reaching out. And then don't stop working on your projects. Even though the program is over, we are still here to support and serve as mentors, as resources, and we will continue to be with you until your project is complete. And for those writers looking to pitch, we will be with you every step of the way through the publishing process and through all of the other projects. It was an honor meeting every one of you, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Brendan.
Awesome. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, everybody, for coming here tonight, for being part of the program. I don't know how else to say it. I'm so inspired. I feel sick. This was really, really incredible. I mean, I was just writing down the variety, the creativity of these projects. I mean, articles, zines, infographics, podcasts, storytelling, museum galleries, curriculums, art science programs, social media, interviews, community talks, op-eds, story. I mean, like, I probably missed a bunch there, but like, it was just really, really cool to see the diversity, the variety, the topics, the mediums. I mean, just really cool. Just kind of, underlies the fact that there are so many avenues of science communication. There's so many ways to do it. And I mean, you guys tackled like not all of them, but a lot of them. And it was really, really awesome to see. It's really great to be here. I've been doing this program for a couple years now, and I'm always super inspired by these showcases, creativity, the new outlets, the new media, all of that stuff. So I hope you guys learned a lot in this program. Hopefully you can take these science communication skills with you on your journey, wherever you end up. Share these skills with other people, help inspire other people to communicate science. And ideally, you learned a little bit about yourself as a communicator, what you like, what you don't like, what you might think about doing as far as communication in the future. That's really why we're here. We want to learn about how to communicate science and encourage you to be more confident communicators going forward. I hope we did that. I really feel like this was an excellent group, and you guys have inspired me. I hope we have inspired you. And I will just say the fall is always kind of a tough semester. It's like a new school year, exams, holidays, winter breaks, people work, people have lives and families and things. So we do appreciate you guys, sticking with us and working hard and staying engaged throughout the entire program. With that being said, don't disappear. We're always here as resources. If you need help with a project, if you need help with pitching, if you just want to reach out and say hi, we can be a reference. We can connect you with folks in the science world. We have connections with Long-Term Ecological Research Network, with the Forest Service, all sorts of different things. So please leverage us as, folks in your network, or at the very least, just check in and say hi. We love hearing from you guys. For those that are still working on projects, don't lose that momentum. You've gotten so far. Let's keep it moving and grooving. Again, the program is finishing today, but that doesn't mean we're not going to continue to work with you on pitching, on publishing, drafting, editing. Again, whatever you guys need, we are here for you. Reach out, drop us a line, and we'll help you through the process. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn, follow everybody else here on Instagram and LinkedIn and whatever else they use. Don't just use us as a resource, use your fellow Young Voices alumni as resources. Again, we built some community here. It's hard to do over the computer, but I feel like we have built a nice little community. So, use that and leverage that as you go forward. So keep up the hard work, continue to study and share that science with the world, push to make some positive change in any way that you guys can. Best of luck in all of your future endeavors, and many, many thanks to all of you for being a part of the Young Voices of Science program. I'm going to release you to the world, and thank you so much. This was really, really excellent.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, y'all.